That Love Clark. We're over here. Hey, we're at Studio B, and I wanted to talk about comics again, so that's why we're at Studio B. X-Men. Love the X-Men, okay? They have the thing that they're doing now, and the X-Men has the best I've seen, maybe besides the Conan comics. It's motion comics, okay? They take the comic book and they keep the original art in the comic book. And it's Astonishing X-Men is the one that they done. Joss Whedon, written by Joss Whedon, and drawn by Cassidy, okay? And it's pretty good. But what they do is they don't change anything. It's a direct translation. Everything, every sound that they make, the sound effects that are in the comics, that's what's in it. What they say is being said. The things they do, they add a little bit of animation to it. And what they do is they use a computer system program to analyze the artist's drawings and then fill in the blanks where they've seen it before, the same face drawn over and over, and they can animate the lips, move the arms. They can do all kind of things with the computer now to animate these, and I love these things. Some people don't like them. As a fan of reading the comic books, I love reading the comics too, but then seeing them in this form, I think this is a medium that is underrated and underappreciated. My wife, she's become a fan of the X-Men, okay? She loves the X-Men, but she's not a big reader, okay? And she didn't, her teenage years, she didn't spend all her time reading comic books. So she's not a comic book fan, per se, because she hasn't read the comics. But I knew that over the years, when introducing her to X-Men through the movies mostly, she loved the characters, and then I would talk more and more about the characters and their details about them in between each movie, and she'd learn more from me about these characters, and then we started watching the cartoons together, and she loves these characters. But I knew that if that's how much the reaction she was getting and the care and love she was getting of these characters was coming just from her understanding of these movies and what side notes I had given her on these characters, that if she had only be able to read the comics, man, she'd really even be in love more. Well, we got the Astonishing X-Men, all the Astonishing X-Men on DVD, the motion comics, and that was her first actual peek into what it's like actually reading a comic book, because for the first time she was exposed to the comic book in the most purest form she's ever going to see it in, because she's not going to read it. She's just not going to read it, unfortunately. But this medium is for those people, and it should grow. But Astonishing X-Men so far has the best, because they don't, and there's no word bubbles. They take all that out, and all the art's the original artists, and the emotion is great. The computer animation they use to make the characters move and talk, the sound effects, the acting, the voice acting, all that is great. It's awesome. If you like the comics, you'll love this. I think you should love this. Some people don't. I really do. And I think you can read the comics, love the comics, and still watch this. Because I have the graphic novel, of Astonishing X-Men. And I have the motion comic DVD version. And I watch them and I'll read that. I'll do both. So, but my point I wanted to get to was that, shout out to Marvel. Make more of these, but I'd like to see you guys do these motion comics, but with your all-star artists from the 90s. era. Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, you know, all the guys, Wills, okay, all these, Mark Silvestri. Let's see all the stuff they did, these awesome artists. Let's see with our computers today. Let's go back to you guys, and you know that these guys rocked it out in the 90s. The epic comic book sales. We'll never see that again. Let's see these, what I call, these are golden comics. Anyway, let's see these 90s era. I would love to see it with this beautiful details and art. I'd like to see it, motion comic version. And maybe you can offer two versions. Recolored version, because they could do computer coloring. I like the old coloring schemes on the old 90s comics because they're not so bright and they're not popping out, and there's less, there's more room to see the pencils, okay, and the shading than there is, it's not so color bright, okay, you can see the pencils, it's darker, it's different. Maybe it's me, but I like the old way. I like both, okay, to be honest with you, I like both. I like computer color separations, and I like regular color in the old 90s, you know. I just like the way it looks. Maybe it's because that's where I started, but I just appreciate that classic style and look. Anyway, I would love Marvel Comics. This is a gold mine right here. You release these 90s version because a lot of people and fans even are still fans from just the 90s cartoons. And they want more of that flavor and that flair. I guarantee you, if you release these motion comic books, and you can sell them on Amazon, you can sell them probably, maybe even on Netflix, okay? They will be epic. I want to see X-Force. I want to see X-Men. I want to see Uncanny X-Men. Let's see John Romita Jr. Oh, he could be awesome for he would be great for a motion comic artist. I mean, John Romita Jr., you can't beat him on X-Men? No way. How about, let's see, oh, you know what would be really awesome? Oh, gosh, man, and with that studio that done it from Astonishing X-Men, you need the same one because they're the best at it. And I want to see some Joe Madureira, some Joe Mad. I want to see some motion comics from Joe Mad because he's already like a Japanese, Americanized style artist. He's not Japanese, but his art style is influenced by the Japanese. So, Japanese-American art style, and that was what was popular, popping off through the mid-2000s. So, with that being said, it would be neat to see his motion comic version, because it's already cartoony. The possibilities are endless, and this can break more people to the comic books, to want to read the comics. Maybe not necessarily my wife, but some other people that are in between, like saying, well, do I want to read the comics or not? And then you show them this, and then they're like, oh, wow, I could sit down and read this. You know, once they realize the content and how awesome the writing and everything is, and how much better it is than actually anything that you could probably watch, any movie, any cartoon ever. Okay, the real version comic is the best, and that's the next to the best thing of reading the comics is the motion comics. And I'd love to see Jim Lee's and Rob Liefeld's artwork come to life this way, and Joe Mad and John Romita Jr. All these guys, okay? The potential is sky high. Oh. Yeah, well, that's Disney Sky High. That's a good movie. Sky High. Anyway, so, Studio B, I'm out. It's at Love Clark, and I want to see more motion comics, man. But done right. The other ones that I've seen besides Conan and Astonishing X-Men, they suck. They're probably low budget or amateurs or fan-made or whatever. But the rest of them, they suck. They suck balls. Okay? But I'm telling you, this is a gateway for people to read the comics. I'm telling you. This is a gateway for people to get into reading the comics. Okay? Motion comics, it is. It is. Believe that. So please, please, Marvel, get on top of this. I want 90s versions of these. Whoever the team was that did the Astonishing X-Men, please get these guys together to do motion comics on the 90s version of your All-Stars. Then you know these guys hit these out of the park, and they we'll never see these numbers again unless you start bridging the gap and getting readers back into the comics. And you know, every bit of exposure to the comics, that's not going to take away from the movies at all. That just adds to it, because the comic book fans are already dialed into the movie versions, okay? Yes, there's a lot of complainers, all the fanboys, blah, 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 about Marvel and DC. I don't care. I love all the comics. But yes, I'm a Marvel fanboy when it comes down to it. I'm a fanboy of both, but really I'm a Marvel guy. And actually an X-Men guy. But, so, please, please Marvel, please, 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 please Marvel, do this. You know it's right. That artwork, Jim Lee's artwork is beautiful. It's beautiful. Rob Liefeld's is beautiful. These artists are beautiful. They are all-stars that sold millions of copies for a reason, based on their art. Hello? These are the one adaptations you should be making into Marvel motion comics. John Romita Jr., it could be easily well done. All these can be easily well done, and I want it. I want to see it. It's my vision. It's my dream. When I was a kid, I dreamed of these type of comics being a reality, saying, isn't there a way they could take it, put it in a computer, and animate it and use the real art and make it come to life like a cartoon? Well, they have done that with the Astonishing X-Men finally. So I want to see it with the rest of them, please. I mean, the potential is so high. Let's see. You know, I'm up here representing Marvel Comics, but I'd like to see a Todd McFarlane Spawn motion comic done. But let's get our Marvel heroes together, and let's see these why these guys sold 1 million copies and bridge the gap. Because you got people that, like I said, that were just fans of the 90s cartoons, and that's all they know, but they love that version. Well, that's the 90s version. So you're going to get a lot of those fans that are like, oh, wow, this is cool, and this is the original art, and this is the original comic. And then they'll get in, and you start pushing, you know, you can push all the comics you want on them. You just got to get them in there and get them hooked in and dialed in. Once people do get dialed in, I think you can get more readers. The comic book shops are dying. Please, please listen to me, Marvel, okay? Get these motion comics in order. Jim Lee deserves to be put in motion. So does Rob Liefeld's. They're all high intensity in action. This needs to be done. Why not? Is it not going on already? It should be. Kevin Feige, somebody, please, Marvel, Stan Lee, get on this, please. I know you understand me. I understand the comics. I understand the fans. I understand all of this stuff. I really do. And I know what I'm talking about. I do. So please listen. Okay? I'd appreciate your time just to think about this. Okay? I want to get this idea out. I don't want the recognition for it. I just want it out there. I want to see this done. It's a dream come true for me. Okay? You know, as you can see, as I keep rambling, I have a huge passion for these comic books, especially the X-Men. Okay? These artists are beautiful art, and I want to see it done. Your best artist that ever sold you the most ever, you should have motion comics. You know, going back to these classic X-Men books. Okay? So, makes sense to me.